Welcome back, my friends. Today on the channel, we're going to do the monthly question and answer video once a month on the Posts tab of my YouTube channel. This used to be called the Community tab, but for some reason in the last month, YouTube changed it. But it's the exact same thing, and I'll put out a question prompt such as this one. Down below, you can ask me anything about anything. Read each other's questions, and then thumbs up the ones you want me to respond to. I'm going to respond to the top 10 ranked questions today. Thank you so much to everyone who left a question or read each other's questions. This video is going to get interesting. So the top ranked question was from YouKnowIt95. Why is the USA and Trump so friendly towards Putin after everything that's happened? And why is the USA and Trump so hostile towards its trading partners and NATO partners? Cheers from, I assume, the United Kingdom. And if you want to understand American culture, the American culture that Donald Trump is from, then I'm going to recommend these three films: The Godfather, Goodfellas, and American Psycho. Donald Trump, who's 80, came of age in the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s, and there was this mafia culture prevalent in New York City. This is where Donald Trump has lived and worked his entire life. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is this mafia kingpin, but he definitely has done business with mafia kingpins. To be a real estate developer in the 1980s, yeah, you had some dinners and you had some meetings with organized crime. So this is the culture that Donald Trump grew up in and is from. And this is the governing philosophy that basically he's bringing to the White House. So if you want to understand Donald Trump, think about mafia culture and organized crime, because it's the exact same culture that Vladimir Putin is from. Yes, at one point, Vladimir Putin was an idealist who believed in the Soviet project, but when the Soviet Union collapsed, he had to adapt. So Vladimir Putin, the modern state of Russia, is a marriage between the KGB and the Russian mafia state. When Putin rose to power in St. Petersburg, his goal was to get organized crime under control of the security apparatus, under control of the FSB. Putin was in charge of the FSB before becoming prime minister. Boris Yeltsin resigned, and then Putin became president. And Putin runs this country of Russia like a mafia state. Mafia culture is all about who has the wealth, who has the power. Is this my turf? Is that your turf? Are you showing me respect? I'll show you respect if you show me respect. In a nutshell, that's it. And this might be horrifying and shocking to anyone who cares about democracy and human rights. But mafia culture kind of is the natural state of political power. Authoritarianism, autocracy, this is the natural state of human beings. This experiment we've been living in the last 80 years, the post-World War II period where we care about individuals and we care about the sovereignty of nations, that is a really young and new concept that everyone alive today has taken for granted. And I'm going to mention to you a historical, famous political event that I guarantee 99.9% of people around the world have no memory of. And it's called the Siege of Milos. This is from ancient Athens, ancient Greece, and the wars that Athens and Spartan had with each other. The Siege of Milos occurred in 416 BC during the Peloponnesian Wars. Milos is an island in the Aegean Sea, about 110 kilometers east of mainland Greece. I'll just show you the map. Here's ancient Sparta. Here are the Athenians. And Milos was a tiny island that wanted to remain neutral during this war. But the Athenians showed up at the island anyways, saying, "You have to surrender to us and pay tribute to us, otherwise we're going to kill and enslave everyone on the island." So the Melians resisted until the city ran out of provisions and the Athenians overtook them. The Athenians then killed all the men and enslaved all the women and children and took the island for themselves. This is a famous historical political event because of the dialogue between the Melians and the Athenians. And I'll just mention that the Athenians were democratic. They also lost this war. I can't explain the dialogue as well as author John Green. He made this video on the Vlogbrothers channel about 6 years ago. I'll link the full video down below, but here's the famous quote from history. "The strong do whatever they can, and the weak suffer what they must." Basically, the political maxim of might equals right. If you have the power, then you can do it. If you don't have the power, then you have to suffer it. That is what politics has been for all of human civilization, 10,000 years, except in the last 80 years. This weird experiment we had in which we would respect the sovereignty of nation and the dignity of human life. Putin doesn't believe that. Xi of China doesn't believe that. And Donald Trump, President of the United States, does not believe that. This is the UN Declaration of Human Rights, passed in December of 1948. And this is a radical document saying that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. The founding document for the United Nations is one of the greatest pieces of political thinking ever put to pen and paper. And the world agreed to this because we just survived World War II. Over 50 million people dead, all the industrial powers except the United States was destroyed, and we tried to build a different world, something that hadn't been done before. And what's happening is we're regressing, we're reverting, we're giving up on these principal ideas of every human life has dignity, and every independent country has sovereignty, and we're going back to an age of empires. I'm just going to read the quote again. "The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must." This is how both Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump think. And it's how they view Ukraine. It's how they view Gaza. It's how they view the Europeans. If you don't have the strength, why do you deserve respect? Just being human, just being a sovereign, independent country doesn't mean anything anymore. This is the year 2025. This is the world we all woke up in once Donald Trump was sworn into office. Yeah, it's getting real, guys. Next question. Now that Tulsi is responsible for USA intelligence, how much damage can she cause, and could Europe cut all ties of intelligence sharing? Keep up the good work. Concerning Tulsi Gabbard, at this point it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant who is confirmed or who is appointed, because so many nefarious actors have already gotten into the system. Donald Trump is giving security clearances to anyone without FBI background checks or oversight from Congress. There are no checks and balances. The only qualification to get a job in the executive branch today is, do you have 100% unquestioned loyalty to Donald Trump? Anything else you believe doesn't really matter. I could give you countless examples of unethical, dangerous people that Donald Trump is now appointing and using within the executive branch. People who have access to highly classified intelligence. A far-right Jack Posobiec is part of the Trump negotiating team in Kyiv at the Munich summit. Posobiec has shared pro-Nazi comments for years and has quoted Russian fascist Alexander Dugin saying Ukraine must be annexed by Russia. So here is one of the team members leading the negotiations for Russia and Ukraine. And this guy posts Nazi dog whistle tweets, and I'll explain it to you. Pro tip, for every 14 days, spend 88 hours outside at least. It's amazing for your body. 8 is the... H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So 88 is a Nazi slogan for HH, Heil Hitler. So if you want to know who's a Nazi, they'll make stupid posts and comments talking about the number 88. Heil Hitler. This is who Trump has appointed as part of the negotiating team between Russia and Ukraine right now. So no, I'm not worried about Tulsi Gabbard. There are worse people who have security clearances. To all of my international friends and partners around the world who are concerned about your intelligence agencies, yeah, you can't trust the United States. You have to stop cooperating and sharing immediately. It's going to be bad. It's just the next 4 years, it's just going to be bad. Next question. Hi, Jake. Why isn't there a much louder and stronger pushback by American leaders to Trump's insane talk on annexing Canada by economic force if necessary? This is a threat, not a negotiation tactic, and should be shouted down definitively. Why such silence? Where is everyone? Thank you from a troubled Canadian friend. Well, there's a couple explanations here. The first one is a lot of people are scared of Elon Musk and scared of Donald Trump. Donald Trump now controls the Justice Department, the CIA, the IRS, and can do a lot of damage to individuals who speak out. Additionally, with Elon Musk, the world's richest and most powerful man, Elon Musk is just threatening any political leader who opposes him, saying, I will use my wealth to fund your primary opponents, your general election opponents. If you speak out against me, I will politically destroy you. That's what Elon Musk says to our elected leaders every single day. And here's the opposition. Let me introduce you to them if you don't know them. This is the Democratic minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries. He's okay. And this is the Senate minority leader, Chuck Schumer. And they're doing what they're supposed to do. They put out press releases and make statements and gather in front of the cameras to say they oppose this. And I'll just share a little bit of this clip.
Okay, hi everybody. Don't you wish for the old Mitch McConnell days when they had shorter Q&A? Okay, so...
They want questions.
Yeah, they like questions. So in his first 3 weeks in office, Donald...
The title of this video is Trump Cannot Bulldoze His Way Through the Rule of Law. And we have an elderly Jewish man with, like the drop-down reading glasses, reading a statement off a piece of paper. This is why you in Canada feel like there's no opposition in the United States. What Chuck Schumer is doing is what you were supposed to do as a political opposition leader in the 1980s, the 1990s, even the 2000s. You put out a statement, the media picks it up, Americans consume that media, and then they form their opinions. But that's not what's happening today. People do not get their news and they do not form their opinions from mass media anymore. Corporate media, legacy media is dead. People get their information and they form their opinions from their favorite influencers on social media. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. So the opposition is not Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries. Those people are placeholders for power. The real pushback, the real communication, the real battle for America right now is being led by social media influencers. which I guess I am one. That was not my objective, guys, but here we are. Keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy. I'm part of this fight. So the biggest social media influencers on the left, they're getting annihilated. They're getting crushed. Brian Tyler Cohen is great. He's got 3.7 million subscribers on YouTube. David Pakman is good. 2.8 million subscribers on YouTube. I think one of the most well-known left-leaning political commentators is Destiny. He's at 842,000 subscribers, but he's big on Twitch. And this isn't how it should be, guys. Destiny, prior to becoming a gamer influencer, was like a cook at a casino restaurant. It's a problem. I'll mention one more. Vosh, I like his channel. He's got 514,000 subscribers. Every day he puts out a video talking about what's happening. But people on the left on social media right now are just being drowned out by right-wing influencers. I can't even call them conservatives anymore because what I grew up thinking conservatism is doesn't exist anymore. So these Tenet Media influencers, Tim Pool and Dave Rubin, they're more influential. They're more powerful to getting a message out and changing people's opinions than Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. So the battle for the next 4 years is happening on social media. If you're a educated, caring, ethical person, I encourage you to start posting. If you have a PhD or you're an authority in something, get on social media and try and post one positive, constructive, helpful thing a day. Because these guys just spew hate and bile and vitriol every moment of every day to poison American society. Like, it hurts when I see that these are the most powerful and influential people on social media, and Russia was literally paying them millions of dollars to attack Ukraine and support Russia. None of these people are ethical. None of them are actually experts in anything. They just got there first. The people who got on social media and grew their audiences first now have the most say. It's a problem. And Patient Zero, Typhoid Mary, whatever you want to say, it's Elon Musk. This guy was kind of a normal, interesting businessman up until COVID. He then lost his mind and is now a genuine Bond supervillain, trying to bring down every democratic government in the world. And what is really happening with Elon is people who support Trump and people who support Elon, they just log into Twitter every day to get their software update. All of these people who support Trump and Elon Musk, when they talk to me, say the exact same thing. You can only be saying the exact same thing. Jake, you have TDS. Jake, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Why is it that thousands of people are saying the exact same things to me? And it's because they're getting their information from the exact same people who spew bile and hate every moment of every day. I just saw a fantastic video from the YouTube channel Wisecrack titled "Capitalism is Over." I'll link this video down below, but it does a good job kind of exposing Elon Musk's thinking with the introduction of technofeudalism. The people who are going to be the most powerful in the future going forward are not presidents of countries. They're the CEOs of these digital landscapes. The people who own YouTube, the people who own Twitter, the people who own Facebook, they're feudal lords in which everyone who logs into their device every day is basically surrendering their identity to the algorithms, to these tech overlords. And the only thing that can stop these tech overlords is governments with regulation. So these techno-fascists are trying to destroy governments first. Now, this is, in my opinion, kind of bizarre because YouTube is banned in Russia and it's banned in China. Twitter is banned in Russia and China, but Elon, at the moment, is making serious moves in the UK, in Germany. They're talking about Romania and their elections. And it's about rolling back the international rules-based order, taking away freedom and choice and democracy from people, and turning them all into nativists, protectionists, isolationists, keep people separated and suspicious and hateful of each other, keep the people divided, because they're easier to conquer that way. Are you still watching? It's getting dark. I definitely can go on tangents in these monthly Q&A videos, guys. So what I can say to you is, if you want to fight back, you have to vote with your clicks. Find and follow people you think are ethical and are moral, and find all their social media accounts. Subscribe to them all. Like, comment, share, retweet. And likewise, don't follow, don't comment, don't engage with unethical people, because any engagement at all just makes them more powerful. That's why hate is so profitable for tech companies. They know that when people's identities are being attacked, they get more furious, and they spend more time on the platform, which generates more advertising revenue. We're in a vicious downward spiral with these tech platforms, and it's creating a very dangerous and unstable world. Once again, shout out to all my social media. You can find it on my YouTube page. Follow me and other people who you believe are trying to do some good in this world. Next question. What is your take on Europe completely replacing the United States in military support to Ukraine? This isn't controversial when you look at the size of these economies. Germany is number 3, UK is 6, France is 7, Italy is 8, Canada is 9. All of these Western partners have an economy larger than Russia. And if they just spent a little more on weapons and defense, Ukraine can win this war. It'd be great if Europe could focus on humanitarian and financial aid, and the United States could just handle all the military support. But to my European friends, the United States is not your ally anymore. The United States has betrayed you and abandoned you, and you need to come up with more funding for weapons and defense before things really start getting crazy. I mentioned this in my last update video. These numbers, the combined economies of the EU and the UK is 10 times larger than Russia, but when adjusting for price purchasing power, Russia is still spending more on defense than all of Europe combined. I understand you have budget constraints, you have deficits, you have citizens upset about cuts in social programs that they like and enjoy. But this is war. Russia has declared war on you. And if it takes decades, Putin doesn't care. The Russian mafia state wants control over all of Europe, all of your industries, all of your businesses. People in Paris, people in London, people in Berlin, people in Copenhagen are eventually going to have to pay tribute monthly to Moscow, otherwise they'll be destroyed. That is the lesson of ancient Athens and the Melian Dialogue. The good news is the Russians are corrupt and incompetent, but it actually won't take that much to continue supporting Ukraine, because Ukraine doesn't have to waste resources on a navy. Russia does. Russia maintains a navy in the Baltic, the Arctic, and the Pacific, which can't help them win this war. Russia also has to maintain all of these nuclear weapons that, once again, are not helping them win the war. Russia also has space forces and lots of land assets and a pretty long border with China that they have to dedicate resources to that, once again, are not helping them win this war. So Ukraine only has to focus on the ground game at the contact line, and Europe on their own 100% is capable of supporting them until Russia collapses. Next question. Europe has almost doubled military support for Ukraine. Would Ukraine manage to win without US support if the 200 billion Russian frozen assets were given to Ukraine? Yes, this was a no-brainer 3 years ago. Take the money that Russia was stupid enough to leave in Western banks and then use that money to defeat Russia. But for 3 years, the United States hasn't done it, but the Europeans haven't done it either. Because this is bad for business. Because the stock portfolios of some hedge fund managers might go down. Once again, to my European friends, Russia has already declared war on you. Russia's never going to stop until they control politically or economically your entire continent. So they're going to get this money back eventually anyways, if things keep going on the current trajectory. So release the money and use it to defeat the Russians, for the love of God. Next question. This is the paramount question on my mind. It looks like Trump is selling out Ukraine with a deal that is unjust, not only prepared without the presence of Ukraine, but Europe, expected to pick up the consequences, not even at the table to discuss. Can Ukraine and Europe just say no to a bad deal offer and go it alone without the United States? Yes. I mean, this is part of the last two questions, but Europe should absolutely go it alone. Now, concerning these talks, Trump is going to go to Saudi Arabia to meet Putin. This is going to happen in like the next 2 weeks. And this is a nothing burger, guys. This peace summit is a television show. The mafia boss of Washington, D.C. and the mafia boss of Moscow are going to gather in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it's just a spectacle. This is not the equivalent of the Yalta Conference in which the world is going to be divided. These two guys can talk over the phone or Skype or whatever. They don't need to meet in person to come up with their evil plans of world domination. So it doesn't matter what Trump says and does. At the moment, he's still willing to sell weapons to anybody who wants to buy them. All this grand talk about no more wars and stopping the U.S. military-industrial complex, and no, Trump's not going to do that. Anybody who wants to buy U.S. weapons, Trump is going to keep selling them, and if the European partners want to spend the money, they can do it, and then they can send those weapons to Ukraine to fight the Russians. Next question. Zelensky says if NATO will not allow Ukraine to join them, then they must build their own NATO. What would that look like? There's an organization called the 3 Seas Initiative. The 3 Seas Initiative, also known as the Baltic, Adriatic, and Black Sea Initiative. At the moment, it's a political and economic cooperative of Central and Eastern European countries. But you can just add a military component. All of these existing European economic organizations can just meet and then start talking about militaries, military cooperation. Now, in its current form, I don't think Slovakia or Hungary want to participate, but if other countries on their own want to create military alliances or organizations, either subordinate to NATO or parallel to NATO, start working on it. Figure it out. If Ukraine wanted to join a military alliance with Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, the Baltics, the Nordics, Denmark, the UK, the Netherlands, it'd start looking pretty good. But what Ukraine and the people of Europe can no longer do, you can't look to Germany for leadership. I don't even think you can look to France for leadership. And the United States is no longer your ally. In the era of Donald Trump, it's all about what power do you have and what can you offer me and why should I respect or appreciate you? The world 10 years from now, militarily and structurally, is going to look very different than it does today. And I'm sorry, but it's probably not going to look better. Next question from Leroy. Hey Jake, as a Canadian, I have a very hard time understanding how US citizens can even allow Trump's rhetoric about annexing Canada. Can you explain how American society got to the point where people can just shrug off the fact that a leader of the free world has imperialist ambitions? Canada has literally been the best neighbor the United States could have wished for in the past century, and this is a hard pill to swallow for all Canadians. Here's the polling data. What percentage of Canadians support being annexed by the United States? And it's 15%. 77% oppose this. Even in the United States, this is not popular. 36%, this is Trump's base. They'll agree to anything. 42% of Americans oppose, and 22% have no idea why Donald Trump is bothering to do this. So this is not popular, but it's about imperialism. Donald Trump wants to control Canada's resources. Their oil and gas, especially their fresh water, their uranium, their mineral rights. I don't dispute it would be an economic benefit or boom potentially for both countries if there was a union, but the people have to want it. It has to make sense. And nobody in the Trump administration is making a coherent political argument for the benefits. They're just making threats. They're just acting like bullies. And they're saying the most stupid and offensive stuff to Canada possible, which is abhorrent. So your question, what happened to Americans? And I'm not that old. I'm only 40. I don't really remember what it was like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. But I want to believe that American culture didn't always revolve around money. How is your stock portfolio doing? How is your crypto portfolio doing? How is your 401k doing? And I think a lot of Americans have abandoned thinking that doesn't revolve around economics or money. Because of the victory of the United States in capitalism over communism, we just embraced, I think, the worst aspects of capitalism to the point where we dehumanize ourselves and we dehumanize especially our neighbors. And as long as the stock market keeps going up, as long as people think they're getting richer every day or every year on average, then there's a lot of Americans who are shockingly okay with war and genocide and imperialism as long as they're getting richer, as long as the stock market keeps going up. Here's the quote from the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas: "Greed is good, greed is king." And I've read Ayn Rand's work. I read The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged when I was in college. If you've not read The Fountainhead, Ayn Rand, who was a Russian dissident. She was a woman who fled the Soviet Union, I think in the 1920s or 1930s. And these are works of fiction, but she developed her own political philosophy of objectivism. And she described it as the concept of a man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute. In a nutshell, every individual should be always working towards their own individual happiness and goals. The state should never limit any person, and the state should never take control of anything, because that would limit personal freedom, that would limit personal happiness. Ayn Rand wrote these books in response to communism. She championed the United States to prevent communism from taking over here, which was a serious threat prior to World War II and the 1950s with the Red Scare. But I think people have taken it too far. And if I can be honest, people are just assholes. They don't care about the poor. They don't care about the needy. They have no tolerance for people that need assistance or help in life. And they view them as parasites. I think Elon Musk tweeted this yesterday. People receiving SNAP benefits or Medicaid are parasites in the American system. They don't view these people as human beings with dignity. I don't recommend the books anymore. You can skip them. There are better books to read. Next question, what is your take on Trump implementing many of the core points of Project 2025 already? And how will this affect the US government long term? But specifically in relation to NATO, our allies, Ukraine, and democracy as a whole. Thanks, Jake. Love your work. Together, US Americans stand with Ukraine. This all kind of ties in with all the previous questions and this new America that I'm living in and all of our allies have to put up with. But Project 2025, Donald Trump is willing to do anything his base wants, and then if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't stick, he doesn't care. So it's The Handmaid's Tale. This is the headline this morning. Morning after pill ban proposed by Republicans. So now that Bobby Kennedy is in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services, things are going to get weird. Like vaccines are going to be outlawed and Mountain Dew is going to be taken off the shelves. Like, there are some things in Project 2025 that even I could support. I'm for government becoming more efficient and potentially government workers being more accountable. Like, I don't oppose common sense ideas. But this is a radical redefinition of America that's happening. Something that I think a lot of Americans don't believe is going to happen. Or they're just not paying attention and they're not going to recognize that things have changed dramatically until they're irreversible. Until it's going to be a lot harder to go back. So specifically in relation to NATO and our allies, Project 2025, from what I was hearing about it, more has to do with domestic issues, less about international partners. But this anti-woke, anti-DEI philosophy that is the core of Project 2025, the United States wants to impose this on everyone else. So if you're woke in Canada or woke in Europe, then the United States is going to attack you, and they're going to bully you, and they're going to use all military and economic pressure imaginable to stop you from being woke or diverse or equitable or inclusive. The United States will not respect your sovereignty. They will take their culture wars and their political fights to your country. They're not going to leave it just in the United States. This is not an American first policy. It's about imperialism. And I'm going to play this clip from Trump advisor Steve Bannon because I don't think Americans understand how politics has changed. I'm just going to play the first couple seconds of this clip. These are Steve Bannon, Trump's advisor's own words about the current state of American politics.
They will send you to prison, or in Trump's case, and I've warned about this, assassination. So I said, if you're not prepared to go to prison, if you're not prepared to sacrifice your life, you're in the wrong line of work. This is all-out political warfare between two sides of the United States that can't stand each other. Each side thinks we're barbarians. We think they've destroyed the country. We think they're dangerous. They think that we're beyond dangerous.
So that is Steve Bannon saying American politics is now a blood sport. It's a death match. It's a fight to the death because they think America is at stake. That if they don't defeat the woke left in the United States, then we don't have a country anymore. Now, me, as a military officer who served for 6 years under 3 different U.S. presidents, that's delusional. That's insane. America's doing fine. But this is the epic good versus evil battle that the right in America has believed themselves into. And they're willing to imprison people. They're willing to kill people to never let the left ever win another free and fair election ever again. I know what I'm saying to you, if you're an American citizen, sounds shocking and horrifying, but this is the language of Steve Bannon. This is the language of Trump's highest-ranking government officials. This is a war they've declared on anyone who does not conform to their ideas and beliefs. We are no longer a pluralist society that is capable of having dissent or differing opinions. The next 4 years, Elon Musk and Donald Trump will use every power available to them in the federal government to crush and destroy all opposition. There will not be free and fair elections according to them, that's their plan, in 2026 or 2028. Next question from Olaf. There was a time in German history when at some point the government was only governed with emergency decrees. These were executive orders in the event of a crisis and were used particularly frequently between 1930 and 1932. The problem was, in the end, they were used to gradually disempower Parliament when the Nazis came to power. Why can Trump apparently govern solely with executive orders without having to involve any constitutional entities? Has the U.S. lost its legislative power? How can this be prevented? When will the people, after all, 50% did not vote for him, intervene? Good question. So Mike Johnson is Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House, according to the Constitution, according to the framers, is supposed to be more powerful than the president. Article 1 of the Constitution is Congress, because the framers wanted Congress to be supreme. The elected representatives should debate and vote on everything that's important. But Congress, made up of hundreds of people, how would they implement it? That's why we have an executive branch. The goal of the executive branch is to execute the laws of Congress. This is our separation of powers of co-equal branches of government, our system of checks and balances. Yes, the executive branch has a lot of ability to interpret the laws passed by Congress, but what laws in the last 3 weeks has Congress passed? None. Speaker Johnson only has his job because Donald Trump put him there. Speaker Johnson has only been in Congress since 2017, less than 10 years. Probably a majority of the Republican conference in Congress has more seniority and more experience than him. But he gets to be in the big chair. He gets to have the shiny gavel. He gets to be the figurehead of Congress because Trump put him there. And for him to stay there, all he has to do is whatever Trump wants. So the legislative branch has surrendered its power and has completely debased and subjugated itself to the executive branch. This is a constitutional crisis. And the Republican Party has been purged. Donald Trump has been waging war on Republicans for the last 10 years, criticizing them, sponsoring primary opponents. Anybody that I could recognize as a traditional conservative Republican, Mitt Romney, has been purged from the party. John McCain, I think he died of cancer in 2018, but this is basically the Republican Party dying when John McCain died. Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris in the last election. Like, it got crazy. And I don't recognize these people. The people who call themselves conservatives now, supporting Trump, supporting Musk, supporting Bobby Kennedy, who are all 3 lifelong Democrats, by the way, who have always been pro-choice, always been pro-LGBT. I make it make sense for me beyond just wanting absolute power. So, with the legislative branch being destroyed, the only remaining obstacle is the judicial branch, and Elon Musk is doing that every day. Every day, Elon Musk is now tweeting about corrupt judges, partisan judges, unconstitutional judges. These judges are terrible. You hate judges. Judges need to go away. Judges are opposing democracy and resisting the will of the people. This is what he is tweeting multiple times a day. These are software updates for the bots, for the MAGA trolls, getting their daily update from Elon Musk. Who do we hate today? Who do we need to destroy today? It's horrifying, guys. I'm just being an observer and watching this happen. And we will have this constitutional crisis this summer. Trump has committed to following court orders and just appealing. But I have to believe, even with 3 Supreme Court justices who were appointed by Trump himself in his first term, they're going to uphold the Constitution and rule against Donald Trump this summer. And what happens when Donald Trump and Elon Musk this summer say we're going to ignore judicial rulings, we're going to ignore the Supreme Court, because they are thwarting the will of the people. The people voted for this. The people want autocracy in America. Give us all-consuming, absolute, unquestioned power. So I know if you've made it this far, you're pretty freaked out, but I do have good news. I do have reassuring news because I am a proud patriot, and I'm going to tell you why Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going to fail. It doesn't feel that way today. Wait a year. But 12 months from now, a lot of things are going to be different here in the United States to resist this. So the first safety guard, safety rail, I don't know what to call it, is federalism. There's nothing that Donald Trump and Elon Musk can do to destroy the state governments. We have 50 of them. Individual state governments with state capitals, state legislators, state judiciaries. How do you destroy all that? How do you get rid of that? They're going to try. They're going to try and figure out how to destroy federalism to create a pure autocracy, but I don't think they can. I don't think Elon Musk and Donald Trump can stop the states from remaining independent and free of corruption. The next thing is freedom of speech. Elon Musk is being pretty bold. He thinks if he just controls all the tech platforms, he can control the algorithms and control how people feel and what they think. But people still have freedom of speech. And when you feel like your freedom of speech is being restricted or attacked or controlled, there's nothing that pisses off Americans more than that. And Donald Trump and Elon Musk used that to their advantage when Biden was president, but now they're going to have strong headwinds going in the other direction on this issue. There's also the United States military. In a dictatorship, in an autocracy, you need to start appointing your sons to be 4-star generals. Kim Jong-un was one of the highest-ranking military generals in Kim Jong-il's, army at the age of 22. But to reach the highest levels of the United States military requires decades of service. So all of the 2-star, 3-star, 4-star admirals and generals in the United States military, there's a couple bad ones. But 99% are true patriots that understand U.S. history, they understand the Constitution, they understand the threats, both foreign and domestic, to our government. And all of these people have been activated. All of them, in their brains, they got to keep their opinions to themselves when speaking to the commander-in-chief, they're going to resist. They're going to prevent this. Unless Donald Trump appoints Barron Trump, his 19-year-old son, to be the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he's not going to get full cooperation from the United States military. And I do think there will be military leaders who will resign. They can't speak out. You can't do that while serving in uniform. But they can resign. They can refuse unlawful and unconstitutional orders, and they will do it. There's also the culture. America's superpower around the world is our movies and music and culture, even though I know it's obnoxious sometimes. But this is Rage Against the Machine, a very popular music group, and after Elon Musk did his Nazi salute at the inauguration, this was their backdrop for a performance. And this post from Rage Against the Machine has 461,000 likes. Culture is going to catch up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. American culture is going to reject authoritarianism and this new imperialism that Trump's base believes is going to happen. The culture is going to reject it. And we saw this on display at the Super Bowl. I'm not going to make too big of a deal about this. I don't think Kendrick Lamar was trying that hard. But in response to MAGA, in response to this election and the abolishment of DEI, the world's best rapper put on a halftime show with no white people. And there was a lot of symbolism there, open to interpretation. There was a scene with the American flag. They quoted 40 Acres and a Mule. This is subversion. And Donald Trump was at the Super Bowl. Apparently he left during the halftime show, probably for transportation reasons, but this was a message from the counterculture, which is currently organizing. And Americans love to revolt. Americans love to protest. I know in the first 3 weeks, everyone is screaming, why aren't Americans doing anything? And it's coming. I guarantee you, the protests and the rioting is coming. And the Me Too movement in 2017, the Black Lives Movement 2018, 19, 20, this was in response to Donald Trump. Unarmed black men were being shot by white cops under President Obama, and we didn't see any Black Lives protests. But as soon as Donald Trump was elected, then people took to the streets. Mass demonstrations. And there's a video I want to mention because this has always been in the back of my minds. This is a Saturday Night Live skit from September 30th of 2017, and it's about wokeism. So let me just play a couple seconds of the clip.
I'm unique. I'm woke. Woke. I'm woke.
So, what?
It's a comedy sketch, but this is the first time as an American I ever heard the term or expression woke, and this is September of 2017, almost a year into Trump's first year in office. So for anyone out there that hates wokeism, wokeism was a reaction to Donald Trump being elected in 2016, and as soon as he was defeated in 2020, well then the anti-wokeism movement gained a lot of steam when Biden was president. So now that Donald Trump has returned, there's going to be an anti-wokeism cultural movement that's going to happen in the United States, and it's going to get stupid. It's going to get silly. I don't want to make too many predictions on this, but I don't think MAGA has won. I don't think MAGA has won. I know it feels that way at the moment, guys, but a lot's going to happen the next 4 years. There are some other things I was going to say about Kamala Harris, but there's no point, guys. Trump's win in 2024 was not a landslide. They're going to say that this was a mandate and Elon Musk has the right to do whatever he wants because this is what the people voted for. But Donald Trump's electoral win wasn't that big, but his margin of victory, what Americans actually voted for. I mean, he lost to Jimmy Carter in 1976, Bush in 2004, Obama in 2012, and Biden in 2020. So the American people did not vote for this radical redefinition of American society. And as soon as things keep getting implemented and stuff keeps breaking, we're going to revolt. We're going to resist. And this is going to be a bad day for the people in power. As Kendrick Lamar said, the revolution will be televised. Okay, we made it. That's the end of the Q&A. Because the world is getting weirder and weirder, things I'm saying, things I'm talking about, I think are also going to have to get weirder and weirder, guys. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for being a super fan. I'm still speechless that 5 years into being a YouTuber, I've experienced so much success. I'm incredibly grateful for you all. If you made it this far and you want to support me on Patreon or YouTube membership or buy me a coffee, all the links are always down below. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with the channel, fighting for democracy, fighting for the truth. This is going to be a challenging time, but we are going to win this. Stick with it. Continue supporting Ukraine. Until the next time, take care.